Hello, everybody, and welcome to DraftKings. My name is Ty Atkins, and I am your host of our little show. And this is what we call the big question. That's right. This is Week 8's big question. But who's joining me? Well, to my left, as always, it is DraftKings staff writer, smiling Jamie Hinks. Over the way there, we've got Edo Delamonte. However you say it, Edo, I don't know. He's European. And next to him, do that wave again, Andy. It's Andy Davies, everybody. That's it, resident humorist. Now, this week's big question is, can Spurs win the league? Right, I know it's early days, guys. I know it's early days. And I know there's one very big Spurs fan around this table, that guy. But it's a question worth asking because a few weeks ago, it was Spurs versus Man City. Every man, to his very marrow, chose a narrow, or in some cases, a big City win, a statement win for the big TV cameras. It didn't happen. Spurs were better in every area of the pitch, and they would run out deserved winners. Spurs are undefeated, guys. Can they do it? Have they learned from last year? Jamie, I'm going to start with you, mate. Can Spurs win the league?
I think the interesting thing about Spurs right now is that they're doing this without Moussa Dembele, and they're doing it without Harry Kane. And like, the thing that Spurs fans would kind of use as their excuse as to why they weren't going to win the league was, oh, if Dembele gets injured,
that's all I heard last year.
Or suspended, we're not going to win it. He hasn't played, and they've been playing very well. He's not playing again this Saturday. If they can go to West Brom and get a win without Dembele, you have to fancy them. The only thing I have is that I don't know whether they can keep it going for the whole season because they just burn out. Towards the end of last season, they just seem to burn out really.
They play at such a pace.
Yeah,
don't they?
Exactly. And it's very exciting to watch, and they're over it. But, I mean, I've heard noises that Pochettino had them doing far more training over the summer to get that, to make sure they have that extra little bit, that extra percentage.
Burst.
And I think the squad is better this year. They've got some really good players that can come in. They've got, like, for example, Wanyama's been able to come in.
He's fitting in quite well, isn't he?
Yeah, Moussa Sissoko doesn't have to play every week, but he's playing well when he plays. But I can't see past Man City still. They beat Man City, but they're still behind them in the league. And Guardiola's so good. I'm sticking with City as my pick. Yes, Spurs can win the league, but they're going to have to go a long way to get past Man City.
So I asked, can you say they can?
They can, but I don't think
they will.
They'll be close. They'll be
okay, you mentioned recruitment. Now, a big area of recruitment was up front because Harry Kane, of course, he's been absolute talisman the last 2 seasons. Hasn't started that well this season, but they've bought a guy called Vincent Janssen who hasn't scored yet. Is he the answer? Same question to you. Can Spurs win the league?
So I had them as my pre-season pick to win the league. Something I immediately regretted. But it wasn't that crazy at the time. And I had major doubts about Liverpool being able to stay consistent. If Liverpool were to beat Man United, we could ask that question as well next week, by the way. Can Liverpool win the...
That might be next week's big question.
Yeah. But, Man United, I thought the squad still needed work. I thought Chelsea had a terrible defence and needed work. And so, you're left with a team like Tottenham, which they've managed to stay up there all season. That was still quite a feat. And you talk about, you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world, according to you. I would actually agree with that. You've got the best centre-back pairing in the league. You've got an effective, if not particularly efficient, set of fullbacks, some young reserves who can do a decent job. Your midfield, you've also managed to do well with Eric Dyer not playing particularly well, and some people think that's because Wanyama has come in and been so dominant. Wanyama, I believe, makes twice as many tackles as Dyer does over your average Premier League game, which says a lot about his impact. You've been able to win games that weren't easy as well, because, you've had Kane looking, tired, you've had Vincent Janssen looking very wasteful, and yet you've still been able to win these games. Son has come in. He's probably been your acquisition of the summer in many ways, just
by keeping him.
Yeah. And Lamella's got 6 assists. There's a lot to be excited about with Tottenham. I do also think the City are still your standout candidate, but I wouldn't put it past Tottenham. Worst case scenario, they come like second or third again, but you can start talking about an era finally.
All right, I'm going to put it on you. I asked, can they win the league? Will they win the league? Will they win the league?
Well, I have them as my pick, so I'm kind of tied to them now. So I'm not going to... I think City are favourites, but I'm sticking to my...
I love it. I love that I'm putting this pressure on you, Edo, because it's only week 8. There's another 30 weeks. There's another 30 weeks. Make a choice. Only 30 weeks, but yes, they can.
I think they certainly can, yeah.
They can. That's right. And finally, he goes in, week out, this poor suffering sod. He is a Spurs man. He hates to jinx his own team. Will you do so now? Andy Davis, can they, will they?
We definitely can. We are much better than last season. I mean, come back to a point Jamie made about Moussa Dembele. It was a fact. We didn't win without Dembele last season. I'm also take umbrage with people talking about our physical burnout. It's mental burnout that happened last season. It wasn't a physical burnout. They were still running around. It's just that in their heads, the Chelsea game happened. Yeah. There was a West Brom game, a Chelsea game, and that absolutely destroyed them. And after that, and Dembele was banned. Dele Alli was banned. We suddenly had Ryan Mason in the middle trying to do the job for two world-class players. He's not going to do it. I was at the Southampton game at the end of last season when we lost. It was Ryan Mason up against Victor Wanyama. There was only one winner. We went out and bought Victor Wanyama and we shipped Ryan Mason off to Hull. God bless Ryan Mason, but, you know, he tried hard, but he's no Victor Wanyama. Victor Wanyama is also capable of replacing Dembele and or Dyer. So we've got I think in central midfield, for strength in the central midfield, we're the best in the Premier League for that. The spine of the side is really good. People are down on Vincent Janssen. He's 21 years old, 22 years old. He's only had one season in Holland. Spurs didn't buy him to score 30 goals this season. They bought him as a squad player, one for the future. Son was brought in last season as an auxiliary centre forward. I think Son was probably second in line to after Harry Kane anyway from last season, and he's proved this season. We've got a much better squad. We bought the Moussa Sissoko that played in the World Cup. We didn't buy the Moussa Sissoko that played for Newcastle for 3 years. So that was good. And this Nkudu is looking like a much better player than Njai was last season as well. So we've got a good squad. I'm still terrified whenever Ben Davies is playing. I'm still, but you know, we beat Man City without Moussa Dembele, Eric Dyer, and Harry Kane, which would never have happened last season. We didn't beat anybody without those three last season. So we can win it. However, I hate to say this, and Spurs fans are going to hate me for this. Part of me puts us behind Arsenal as well.
Because that's what happens.
It's not because that's what happens.
That's good.
I put us behind Arsenal, City, and Liverpool because they've all got managers that know how to win a title. Pochettino doesn't know. I think Spurs will win the league with Pochettino in charge at some point, because I think Pochettino's going to be here for a while. People that talk about, he'll go to Real Madrid, he'll go to Barcelona, a big club will pick him. They won't. He's signed a contract. He's got a project that he's spoken often that he wants to see through. Big stadium coming. He wants to make Tottenham a title-winning club, and I think he will do it. Just don't see it this season. I think he's up against just managers that know how to win titles. He's up against Guardiola. He's up against Wenger. He's up against Klopp. I see Spurs finishing in the top four.
But you would say squad for squad, they could probably easily. You're talking about
squad for squad.
experience.
We're there. My only concern with Tottenham is, does Pochettino have a plan B to see it out? It's still that I just can't. It's the experience of the other managers that it's not.
I'm a Chelsea fan, right? And I envy the squad in depth that you've got. You've got so much cover in so many positions. We haven't got that at the back. We've mourned losing John Terry, who's 36 years of age, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and we're all cheering that he's coming back. You've got the best centre-back pairing in the league by far.
I have to find a negative somewhere, or I'm going to sit here saying that we're going to win the league.
That's what I want you to do.
I get what you're saying.
This is why we designed the question, Andy. Just come back from the States, and I want to make you uncomfortable.
I get what you're saying, because if you look at Leicester at the end of last season, everyone was still saying they're not going to win the league, probably even in March. Yeah. And Ranieri did the thing that wins the leagues, which is just win 1-0 every single week. It'd be really boring, and it's just, I get what Andy says, it's like, has Pochettino got that?
Yeah, that's the only question against. If we're ahead in the race come April, can we see it out? It's a psychological. They're a young team as well. It's a psychological issue. You know, they are a very young squad. What would be interesting though, if either Spurs or Liverpool or Arsenal won the league, is that would be 3 years since any team from Manchester won the Premier League, and when was the last time that happened? That's a great question that I've just thought of. Answers on a postcard, please.
That is a great question for all you guys out there. That was our big question, everybody. Can Spurs win the league? Yeah, they can. That's the undisputed answer to that. Will they? Unlikely. I'm with you, Andy. I think experience will hold sway. I think it'll be Pep still. But you know what? We've got another 30 weeks of this excitement, this drama, the soap opera that is the English Premier League. And this, everybody, is DraftKings. If you haven't already downloaded the app, do so. It's more than fun. It's skill. And you can win big. Welcome to the big time.